Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Football.
And welcome into Purple Access, presented by our friends at Quick Trip. Of course, your one-stop shop for everything that you could possibly need, including their quality gas guarantee. It's Judd, it's Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune, sports columnist, and of course, Ross Brendel, who is now in charge of producing all of the Purple Access podcasts. Congratulations, Roscoe. All right, Chipper, I want to talk to you about the end of the season press conference between with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the Vikings GM, and Kevin O'Connell, the coach. You and Seifert especially throwing fastballs high and tight, quizzing them on all types of things. I watched the entire thing, but since you were there, give me your main takeaway from what is often a press conference at which the team tries to sound like they're telling you something without telling you too much.
Yeah, it's one of those. We sat through about 20 of those now in my time. Yeah, it's. I didn't expect really many concrete answers. They're not going to cut open a vein. They're not going to give you their strategy. They're not going to tell you what their approach is going to be in the offseason. So I went into it with that. I fully expected Kwesi and O'Connell to kind of talk us in circles on things.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything revolutionary that came out of there, anything earth-shattering. Kwesi, I guess the headline would be, if there was one, that he reiterated his desire to bring Cousins back. That doesn't surprise me. Whether or not they do or not, he's not going to come out and say no.
Exactly.
But he said yes, but it's a negotiation, a thing that the same line he used before the day after the trade deadline, when he had the press conference. So nothing really earth shattering came out there. I do get the sense, there's part of me that wonders if, given his druthers, would Kwesi have wanted to tear the whole thing down, the whole rebuild, competitive rebuild, if he would have wanted from the beginning to tear it down and start over. Clearly ownership is not of that belief. I wrote about it in a column today that Mark Wilf, the day he fired Spielman and Zimmer, said he expected the team to be super competitive in 22. They won 13 games, so it fulfilled what he wanted. But I still wonder, Judd, and I asked Kwesi, I said, are you going to have enough money if you re-sign Cousins, sign Jefferson, you're going to give Darrisaw a big thing. Are you going to have enough money to fix the roster in the way that you want? He said, we got some smart cap people, and he thinks that he does. I just don't know how that works, Judd.
Oh, I don't think it does. Like, they're not going to have more outside. No. Like, I thought he did. I thought, especially with you and Seifert asking questions, he bobbed and weaved a ton. The thing on Booth, the thing on Scene, the second round, or the 2022 draft, that question. Kevin tried to ask him about if the Wilfs get involved too much.
Yeah.
I didn't, for the most part, I thought he did his best to try and just avoid. But that's not surprising, like you said.
Yeah, Kevin's first question, Seifert, his first question was, there's a perception, I hope I phrase it right, but there's a perception that the Wilfs would not have the appetite to go with a rookie quarterback, I think. And Kwesi said, I don't know where that's coming from. I that's not the case. And he followed it up with, okay, would they have the appetite to make moves that would affect the competitiveness, basically tank or try to and
go Bears.
That's like, go Bears. And he said, I want to make sure I wish I had a quote, but I think he said that's never been articulated clearly. And he said you have conversations about all kinds of different things, and he kind of meandered there. But Judd, we've all sat outside that locker room after a game, and you see Ziggy and Mark come out and Lenny. They wear their emotions on their faces and sleeves, and they're fans. And so I just don't think this ownership group would ever concede that they need to bottom out to try to get a top pick to get a quarterback. The whole thing, I just don't think they'll do it. And so, but I think there's enough quarterbacks in this draft. My gut tells me they're going to try to re-sign Cousins and draft a quarterback at number 11.
So if that's the case, though, see that this is where I find it a little bit confusing. But if you do that and you want to win next year and you're going to bring back Kirk Cousins, and let's say Cousins wants 2 years guaranteed, okay? So let's say he's back for 2 years. Are you going to draft a quarterback at 11 who's going to sit then and not help you in 2022? Or are you going to, because I mean, you need so much help. You need defensive line help. You need pass rushers. So like, that's what I can't get my head around is if you bring Cousins back with the way that they operate, I don't see them now. Could they get back into the first round late like they did with Bridgewater? Absolutely. But this is where I'm at sort of a sticking point with myself on how this team operates.
And Judd, how much do you think it is because the narrative is, man, you got a rookie quarterback, you're going to struggle. You're going to win 5 games, which I don't, not every case. We see it with CJ Stroud. It doesn't have to be that. Now, it's not to say that it won't, that you might, you might very well take a step back. So I think that is the thing that they're wrestling with. But if you draft that guy 11th this year, ostensibly that is what you're saying is, you're going to have a redshirt season and 2, because I don't think Cousins is signing for a 1-year deal. I don't see that happening. No, I think 2, yes, potentially. I think if it was another team, he would probably want 3. With the Vikings, he would probably settle for 2, I think.
Yep.
So I think but do you want to draft a guy? Jordan Love set, 3 or 2? How many years did he sit
3
behind Rodgers? 3.
I think he said 3 years.
Obviously, you don't want to do that. I'm not even wild about, I don't mind having the red shirt year. I'm not crazy about 2 years.
Correct. I agree with that.
But do they want to punt that decision down the road 2 years if they don't draft a quarterback? And if you fall in love with, I'm just throwing out names, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, if you say, gosh, man, we may not get this swing in 2 years. Mm-hmm. Ideally, they're not drafting 11 for the next couple of years. They're going to be drafting later on, so that complicates it too. But if you do that plan, Judd, how do you have the money to fix the defense? Because it absolutely has to be fixed. And again, if you do that, you're putting all your stock in Kwesi's drafting, and he's already going to have to readdress, I think, defensive positions that he thought he solidified in 2022. Judd, he took 5 defensive players in the first 165 picks.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's not even with the team anymore, Azezi, the former Gopher.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 4, look at their impact. So now, that's why I said to him yesterday, we don't even know if these guys are building blocks, right? Would you say any of those guys are building blocks for the future?
And he tried to sound positive, like there's something there, but catastrophic injury last year or not, Lewis Cine is at the bottom of a depth chart where everybody and their grandma played safety for this team. See, that's the thing. I agree with you. Now here's my quarterback question as well, because if the answer is yes, I think we might have a problem, because I'm with you. Ideally I'd love to sit a quarterback for a year, but but then you're not going to address a position. How scared do you think O'Connell became, if at all, by the fact that he saw Mullins, Dobbs, and Hall step in behind Kirk and look so bad? Because if he did become scared, I think that's a demerit on him, because those are backup quarterbacks. So you can't compare what you would draft in the first round to Mullins, Dobbs, and Hall were never meant to really be starting.
Well, that's the thing. If you're drafting Michael Penix at number 11, he better be better than the guys you drafted, in the 4th round or 5th round. I mean, that's the whole premise. I don't know if scared was, and let's go back to O'Connell on that. And Jefferson said something the last session we had for him before the last game, where he said, this is one of the most complicated or most difficult offenses in the NFL. And we've heard Cousins talk about that last year, getting the flashcards and driving, listen to, making a recording of the cadence and the play calls and listen to it on his commute to work. Isn't it imperative or incumbent on O'Connell to take a look at that and say, what happens in the year where this happens, where you're forced to rely on multiple quarterbacks?
We saw it.
You have to be able to be, I don't know if dumb it down is the right word, but if it's that complicated that your best players are not struggling with it, but if they're telling you how hard it is, imagine what it's like for lesser players or younger players that don't have the experience. How do you overcome that? So I think that's where the criticism for him is valid.
Well, first of all, we saw what backup quarterbacks struggled with, which is, not a surprise because of what you just said. And the O'Connell didn't do a ton of the talking. It was a lot of Kwesi stuff. But one thing that O'Connell said that I didn't love was when he was asked a pretty direct question about the run game. The run game has to become part of this offense. Like and I heard somebody say, well, I mean, they sort of use the short passing game as the run game. No, they don't. They have no screen game. If Kevin O'Connell does not realize that he needs to incorporate the run game, and I'm not saying go Zimmer, that was too much, but if you can't use the run and play action, what he wants to do is never going to really truly work.
And here's the thing, Judd. So that, I think they miscalculated what Alex Madison is. They thought they were just going to be able to plug him into the system and he would be fine. And they waited too long to pivot to Chandler, I think. So now do you go into it as Chandler year one and Madison? I don't think you say Madison's your starting running back right now. So they overestimated what they were going to get from him. I don't think his system's ever going to be. My hunch is I think they're always going to rank near the bottom in carries in production in the run game. I don't know. He's talked about being more efficient.
Chip,
maximize the run game or maximize the offense?
No, your offense.
I think he thinks he can if you have Cousins at quarterback or, a high functioning quarterback. Mm-hmm. Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison. I think that's the way he sees it. Now, we may disagree with it, but I think you have to have they got to have better than what they got. But I just don't think it's ever going to be a significant component to it. I don't.
I think the downfield routes have become, I think he's gone way too far. And the things that I don't get include, why doesn't Justin Jefferson get the ball on more short, screen type plays? Like the man's a fantastic player. He's a good, yes, he can make unbelievable catches, but he can also, he is fast enough. I don't understand the philosophy, which seems to be this all or nothing with the pass game, as opposed to where is your screen game? In my opinion, you have to have a screen game.
They do. And they actually showed it in the last game, right? Did we see a couple?
Yeah, we did. I think they were, I think at least one of them was scripted, but we saw it.
Yeah. I think you fell out of your chair when it happened. Yeah. I mean, I would hope that that's part of the offseason, but yes, his affection for the downfield passing and the long, deep shots and vertical, I think that's just going to be a big part of his system. We'll see if it evolves and he takes anything from this season. Obviously, the running game cannot be. Now, I thought they got it once they turned to Chandler. It felt like
better.
It was better, and I think Kwesi said it yesterday that making the switch to Reisner helped the offensive line. But Judd, I look at this. I wonder how this is going to work if you bring Cousins back and you pay Jefferson that money, and you got to at least approach Darisal's camp to figure out kind of where that situation is. How many new starters on defense do you feel like you need?
Oh God. Well, I need interior line help. If Hunter leaves, and
I think Hunter's going to get a big deal from some team.
Oh, I think he deserves it too. And I think if he does not hit the open market, he's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
He will.
So I would. Now you need a rusher.
Two. Well, I guess you get Wanham back, but You can never have enough of them, but yeah, you need one for sure.
Okay.
Interior for sure.
Harrison Smith might retire. Who replaces him? Because it's certainly not Lewis Seen. Your quarterback, we haven't even talked about your corners.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, Blackman, I think you saw enough of, but is he a starter, Judd? I mean, realistically,
He better be, because Booth's not.
Evans got benched twice.
Yes, I mean
Booth is not, and I mean that's the thing is like Caleb Evans got benched twice in the last 3 weeks. Booth is not a starter. Blackman, is he a starter on
Byron Murphy Jr. is coming
defense?
Back, but he's very expensive, so he better give you something. But yeah, I mean you hit it. You've got so many needs, and you've only got so much to spend, which is why I also think so. For all of the fans who say Justin Jefferson, if Kirk Cousins leaves, he's going to be ticked off. It's going to be unbelievable. Part of this is Kirk might have to leave to retain Jefferson.
Yeah, well. I mean, I just think I don't think it's those two, but it's to fix the defense because that's why I was saying readdress, and that's why I was asking Kwesi is like you've drafted Evans, Booth, Blackman in your 2 drafts, 3 corners. Can you sit here today, as you could say with Xavier Rhodes or even Trey Waynes? It's like that guy's going to be a starter for the next 5 years for us. Any of those 3 guys can you say that with, or do you have to go back into this draft class or the free agent market and said, you know what, got to have more corners? And he said, his answer to me was, every development of guys is not linear. They're all different, basically.
I know. I heard that.
I get that, but what signs have you seen that you feel like you can trust those guys going into training camp next year that our cornerback group is in a good spot?
And the DC basically looked at the majority of that draft class and was like, I can't play those guys. They tried to play Booth for a while, and I thought he did okay. And he got yanked and basically didn't get back until guys got hurt. The Scene thing's a disaster.
Asamoah.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah. But I guess my point is you're going to have to make some decisions on salaries and who gets what. And you can't, Flores probably comes back, hopefully for their sake. But you can't tell him for a second consecutive year, okay, you got to come back, but now we're going to take Hunter away, which is very possible, and we're not really going to get you much. You got to get him help. So, like, there are decisions to be made, and this is where you can't say, well, the 2023 draft class looks pretty good, so the 2022 is a mulligan. There ain't no draft class that's a mulligan. This is going to hurt you big time, which was your point to him, which he then tried to duck because what's he going to say?
Well, he was talking about their depth didn't allow them to overcome the injuries they had. It's like, well, when you miss on, this is why I know. And in fairness, some of this goes back to the Spielman regime and how they missed on defensive guys too, that they didn't draft well there. So it's not just, accumulation of it's both. So Judd, it feels like a mess to me, man. It really does. It feels like a complicated thing. And I understand wanting to bring Cousins back. I do, because you look around and how many teams have good quarterbacks, and you look at the way that offense functions with him, and you think there's always that risk of moving on. I understand it. There is that risk of moving on, but you also have to look at the total roster and say, with an honest assessment, and say, did the guys we drafted, are they going to be part of the long-term plan here? And we just haven't seen enough to say, I don't think they can. Now, they see him every day. They see him a lot more than us. But the fact that they're not playing and contributing a lot.
So if Cousins wants a 2-year contract, let's say it's 40 per, totally guaranteed, no trade. What do you do? Because that's going to set you behind the 8 ball big time.
Judd, I'd probably move on. I would
agree.
draft
I think
it.
you have to.
I'd draft at 11. I would try to find a bridge quarterback, whoever that is. And maybe the rookie, you get into the training camp and the rookie's better than the bridge, right?
Yes.
And so then I would do that. I would take that money, look at I would think about the and this is, inside football, but the trenches. I mean, you look at the playoff teams, offensive, defensive lines, where there are relative to where the Vikings are. I would invest heavily there.
Yep.
I think if you got a good line, you surrounded a rookie quarterback that you drafted high, or a bridge, and you give him Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, that's a pretty good support network there, right?
Well, and at some point in time, you have to move on. And if O'Connell, and I don't know this, but if O'Connell is wed to Kirk, like for as long as possible, that's not what I expected. I expected he would get the most from Kirk and then develop a quarterback. And I would say this: if he is concerned about developing one, then he's not what I thought they were hiring.
Well, I don't think that, because I think he said it yesterday. He loves the quarterback development, the recruitment. Yeah. I mean, I think he studies during the draft. He breaks all these guys. I think I don't think it's so much that, Judd, it is. And I don't, they've only been there 2 years, so it's not like they're on the hot seat to get fired in that the talk about let's fire and move on, However, they need to win, right? And if you're a coach and you're thinking, okay, which guy gives me the best chance to win? Well, you're probably going to take Kirk Cousins now over an unknown. And so how much do you think that factors into it? Where you say, this is year 3. Yeah, we got to playoffs. We won the division year 1, but this was a big step back. We have a lot of holes on our defense and roster that we have to fill. Can I afford to have a couple lean years where we're developing a quarterback?
Do you want to be competitive or win a Super Bowl? That would be my question. Because if you do what we're talking about and you bring guys back, you're probably going to be competitive. Long term, though, you're not going to be headed towards a thing. You know what? I mean, Chipper, you won 13 games in your first year. You made the playoffs, you won the division, and you got bounced in the first round. To me, that was enough to say, okay, let's chart your own course here. And if that's not what you're going to do, it feels, to your point, when you say a mess, what it feels like to me is that there's a lot of different chefs here. It feels like there's a lot of different people, including the owners, with ideas about what they want. And I don't think you win a Super Bowl by having a discombobulated, hey, we should do this. No, let's do this. No, let's do this.
Yeah, it feels like they're in limbo. It's like, should we bring Kirk back and try to get 2 more years out of it, or should we turn the page and start over, but you don't know what you're getting there?
Correct.
You have a defense that needs to be fixed. You have expectations that you want to win right away and be relevant. That's where it's like getting in a room and figure out what it is, top to bottom,
yep.
the path forward, what you want.
Great stuff, Chipper. Roscoe, final thoughts before we go. What do you think of the situation of the Minnesota Vikings?
My final thought dovetails kind of on Chip's point, your point too as well, Judd. I think the easy answer here is eventually, whether Cousins is here or not, you have to take a quarterback this year because, Chip, you talked about, you want to win. That's how you keep your job. Judd says, do you want to win a Super Bowl or do you just want to remain competitive? The reality here is for a general manager and head coach to sustain long-term, not even success, but to sustain their jobs in the long term, they can restart their clock by drafting a quarterback. So if you go with Cousins or a bridge quarterback for a year or two with the quarterback and waiting on the roster, you've just bought yourself X amount of new years. So to me, it's never been more clear, even if you're not really convinced in the guy. I'm acting like I'm them. Even if I'm not super convinced at who I'm taking at 11th overall, I know I just bought myself job security for probably at least 2 more seasons.
Yeah. And think about how Houston feels about having Stroud right now in the playoffs with the rookie guy.
1 year after being terrible. Chipper, great stuff. Roscoe, thanks much.
Thanks, boys.
See you, boys.
Access. We encourage you, of course, to hit the like button, subscribe to all the good stuff on Score North, and we'll see you later.